It is time to breathe again on this latest breath of fresh air, Shorty. So, I am your host, Charles Taylor, for this episode, and I am here to talk about the Denver Broncos quarterback situation. So, of course, this is one of many quarterback situations that are coming to end, I guess, in terms of who's going to be named the starter for week one and perhaps going forward. And the Broncos situation is one of those cases. And I guess the battle was between Drew Lock, who has been there for a couple of years, and Teddy Bridgewater, the at this point journeyman quarterback who has been with multiple teams. Started with the Minnesota Vikings, and then he went down to the New Orleans Saints for a little bit before going into the starting job with the Carolina Panthers. And now he was able to come on to the Broncos and I guess challenge Drew Lock for the starting position there. Of course, as it turned out from last week, Teddy Bridgewater has been named a starter for week one, and we will see how that goes. Now, this is one of these cases where multiple things can be true. So, this isn't me trying to go at one side or the other. This is me just giving different perspectives of the same situation or of the situation at hand with the Broncos. So, what you have is a coach. You have a head coach in Vic Fangio who is conservative. He's the guy, he's going to play it safe a lot of times. The defenses are, in which he was a defensive coordinator for my team, the San Francisco 49ers. And generally, it was a defense that wasn't going to blitz a whole lot. They were going to play coverage more often than not and keep those safeties back to prevent the big play. Uh, and then on offense, he wants to run the football, as he has been for the head coach of the Broncos. He wants to run the football and try to go off of play action passing more often than not. Teddy Bridgewater fits that mold more than Drew Lock does. Drew Lock, who, and I'll get more on him in a minute, but I'm not a big fan of his. I actually don't like him that much at all, to be honest. I didn't like him when he was in Missouri playing college. I thought he was cocky for no reason. And he's pretty much the same now being a quarterback for the Broncos. But you did invest, if you are Denver, you invested a high draft choice in him. And I think now is the time to figure out what you have in him before you decide whether or not to move on. Things have been a little bit uneven in Denver in terms of injuries and in terms of turnover. Vic Fangio hadn't been there for that long. Vance Joseph was the coach, I guess, before Drew Lock came there, or when Drew Lock was drafted there, and then they moved on and brought in Fangio. I like I said, he's conservative in nature. Drew Lock is a guy who's going to take risk more often than not. Some of those risks are good, but some of those risks are very, very bad, as in he's going to throw in the double and triple coverage consistently bad. So, this decision on the surface of Fangio going with Teddy Bridgewater to start, that's not surprising because he fits the mold a little bit more. I do think you should take a little bit of time to see what Drew Lock has. You have to find out about him before you decide whether or not to move on. Like I said, things have been uneven a little bit, but now Denver has their people back. They're getting Cortland Sutton back. They're going to have Jerry Jeudy, hopefully healthy. Both of those guys, hopefully healthy. You have KJ Hamler as well to throw to. A good running game. And you're going to have a pretty good defense there with Denver. Denver has a pretty good roster overall. They just need a quarterback to kind of help elevate them a little bit. I personally don't think Teddy Bridgewater is that guy. I think he's the dude who's serviceable. He's going to take care of the ball, but when you need plays to be made, when you need somebody to make something happen, Bridgewater more often than not is not that guy. He's a ship steadier. He's the game manager. If you need somebody who's going to take the game by the throat or by the horns or whatever analogy you want to use, I don't think he's that guy. But in terms of the coach and the situation we're talking about, he fits the mold of what he's looking for. Someone, or of what Fangio was looking for. Someone who's going to manage the game well, take care of the ball, and give your team a chance to win at the end. Whether they win or not, that's a different story. So, overall, that's where I'm at with it. I would start Drew Lock, and if it's not working by week 5, week 6, whatever, then go to Bridgewater so he can come in and kind of steady the ship a little bit. But Fangio decided to go with Bridgewater. Now, for Drew Lock, this is what it's about, and this is one of those life lessons. He probably thinks he should be the starter. I mean, obviously, if you're gonna go in there and compete, you were a high draft choice of theirs. You think you should be starting these games. You got beat out in the competition, so now let's be a professional. It's time for Drew Lock to just put this behind him and be ready when his number is called. And I say win because I feel like it is a matter of win. I don't think Bridgewater is going to keep that job. And I don't think Denver is going to have enough wins for Bridgewater to keep that job. So I do think there will be some point at whether it's in the middle or maybe perhaps toward the end of the season where Drew Lock's number is going to be called. He has to be ready for that, and that's what I mean by being a professional. He's probably bent. He's upset. He's not named a starter, but he still has to come to work. He still has to do his thing, be prepared, and be ready when the number is called. And for his sake, he comes in and he kills it, and he shows why the Broncos took him with a top draft choice. So really, that's what it's about. But more so than the football thing, it's about life and showing resilience and having that backbone to say, all right, maybe I'm not the starter now, but I'll be ready when my number is called. And that's what has to come of Drew Lock. Or it could be unfortunate Josh Rosen story where you're just going from team to team to team and you're just busted. You're known as a bust. So Drew Lock has a chance to pick himself up. And sometimes you need some adversity. You need somebody to kind of give you a dose of reality to get loose and get to where you think you should go. Uh, People need it sometimes. And if you are one of those guys who are tough and you're resilient, then Drew Lock will be back. So I don't think this is the last we've heard of Drew Lock, but if he doesn't take this the right way, it could be that beginning. Well, that's what I'm breathing on for today. Y'all make sure y'all go to the Breath of Fresh Air YouTube channel, smash that subscribe button, and keep the lights coming on the Breath of Fresh Air Facebook page. I will talk to y'all later on this week. Should be an exciting week coming up. More on it as we go forward. But until then, y'all have a great Monday afternoon, and I'll talk to you soon.